we have a few minutes today. Me and Tosca are live. We're going to talk about the coming Uranus Jupiter conjunction. And we were already talking about all the little tiny, stray hairs that we've got going on here. So we have like a stray energy that is,
Yeah, actually, very fitting to Uranus Jupiter.
yeah, what you have something interesting. Do you want to share?
Yeah, okay. So basically, well, my sister has been doing a lot of activist work for the past 6 months or so with everything that's going on in Iran. And then yesterday, just out of the blue, she was asked to join a panel on Piers Morgan about it. And since that was aired live, she has gone, I mean, viral across all platforms. She was already gaining a lot of traction with doing her activist work anyway. But now that the Uranus Jupiter conjunction is conjunct her own sun in Taurus in the 10th house, it has spread like wildfire since last night. It's been
Well,
crazy.
fun. Yeah, yeah, in the 10th.
In
All perfect formula for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So it's just crazy how it works, you know? It's like it's I don't know, it just feels like literally it feels like a massive explosion, an explosion and expansion at the same time, Uranus and Jupiter.
Yeah, yeah, it can be too much of a good thing when it
Oh,
uh, well, depending on what it's aspected to. You have to look at it in terms of what is it already on top of. For some people, that's the best kind of jack in the box that
mhm,
comes. And yeah, you have to look at it in terms of just everything. But I think in general, socially, it can be a very good thing
yeah.
because it can be something that gives rise to new trends that
Mm,
are uh, is something that rebuilds communal bonds or societal bonds, which
yeah.
absolutely have been broken. So it's a new kind of like energy, like positivity, like excitement about partying together and being together and coming together.
Yes, yes,
That it can give rise to, because it is the birth of something more positive and electric and
yes.
socially constructive.
Yeah, and some new opportunities for something new, right? If
Mhm.
you're willing to accept them, that is.
Yeah, yeah. Uranus does usually come with some amount of resistance.
Mm,
Uh, Uranus and Pluto. Well, we can also get that with Saturn too. We get different types of resistance to different things.
yeah.
Yeah, resistance to what might be new, what offers us a new opportunity. And if you are more rooted in the past or more, finding comfort in what is predictable, then it can be something that gives rise to some amount of fear because
I don't know if you can tell, but you are frozen right now. Oh, yeah, there you are.
stupid connection. You have to look at everything for everybody, but generally speaking, this is something that we do associate with positive new beginnings.
Yes,
So if
yes,
you're Uranian or Jupiterian
yeah.
in character and you appreciate change and progress and embrace unknowns, because in that space of unknowns, there can be just as many positives and things that could go right as things
a-
that could go wrong. We
yeah,
forget that
absolutely.
if we're more geared towards looking towards what could go wrong. So,
Mm. Or if you have a more of a, better the devil you know attitude, like if you're more Plutonic or more you're heavily Saturn, it could be a bit more difficult.
mhm, yeah, we can have more resistance built in to our nature because we can have more comfort in predictability. and that
It,
is where we do tend to regurgitate more of our cycles. Yeah, and we may not know it. We could know, especially if we're highly plutonic, we
yes.
can imagine ourselves as extremely self-aware, but yet still be steeped in these extremely plutonic cycles that denote extreme lack of self-unawareness. So it
So
could be something that throws a wrench into that and gets us to see ourselves, more honestly, which
yeah,
is very hard to do, as
yes.
I've going through it.
But you know what? That's actually a really good point because in those circumstances, this conjunction might help you break out of these deep seated patterns of behavior, that you're not really aware of. It's actually an excellent point. I think any way you dress it up, no matter what's going on natally, if you look back on it in hindsight, it was probably a very beneficial thing, even if at the time it might feel extremely disruptive.
Yeah, yeah. Change can be like that. And self-reflection, um, yeah, I've been doing a lot of that, and having this Mercury retrograde opposite to my moon, a few other things going on. Oh God. Self-reflection is not a pretty thing
No,
many times.
no,
And I resist it. And because it's very humiliating
exactly.
to see things from an alternate point of view, and often from a point of view where we take ourself out of it, we take the ego out of it, we take our own emotionality out of it, and we get a very different idea of maybe what happened. And it's a reflective process.
And yeah, it's not
It's hard to accept some things, that are very, actions and behaviors, things that we've done that are very divergent from what we like to think about ourselves.
exact.
And accepting that, okay, what I think about myself and what I actually do, uh, maybe there's a disconnect there. And how can I be really honest with myself in regards to my behavior? And
Oh, I think you've frozen again a little bit, if you can hear this. No, I don't think you can. I can still I can still hear bits and bobs of you coming through. Oh, eh,
I'm going to take you outside with me so it doesn't happen anymore. But I think that when we go through this, it is never a well.
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, I know.
To direct and
Mhm,
that option to push it down and to deny and double down. And, then we get more of the same thing, which is comfortable
mhm.
and it's known.
Yeah, it's familiar, but it
Familiar.
might be it might be destroying you slowly from the inside out. But huh, go on, sorry.
No, no, I can only agree more. Yeah, yeah. These are our moon patterns.
Yes, yeah. But like we said earlier, sometimes you just need a little pause, a little time for it to sink in,
Yeah.
for the humiliation to die down a little bit. That part is very crucial.
Yeah, yeah. It is a process, I think, that we go through. Of uncovering ourselves. And sometimes we uncover a deeper layer in a shorter amount of time than we're used to, particularly when we're having, Mercury retrograde, where we consider, look at things from another point of view. And especially if
Yeah,
that's an aspect to the moon or sometimes in, other personal planets, it can be. a process of over a few days or weeks, however long this cycle is for you, of reconsideration and coming
Mm,
to a different conclusion, coming to a different idea of what may have happened and specifically what our part is in things. So,
mhm.
that going on, Mercury retrograde, at the same time that we have this conjunction
Hmm.
that is occurring. That's something
Hmm.
that I've been thinking heavily upon, where we have radical insights with that
Yeah.
conjunction, and then at the same time, we have this process of review.
Yeah. So, do you think that with Mercury retrograde, then maybe we're less likely to embarrass ourselves if we're thinking more before we speak, or if we're being more reflective? Do you think, or no?
Um, that's a good question. I'm wondering if that is something that's more situational
Hmm.
for us. I don't know if I know the answer.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's all right. You know,
I don't know
we don't.
everything.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, maybe
eh,
that's part of my process of my, you know, my
Maybe one
retrograde
more
stuff.
of a, maybe that one we need to think on a little bit,
Yeah,
or
maybe.
as time goes on, maybe given whatever we experience, then we'll know a little better. Certainly for me, I don't think it stopped my outbursts.
Uh, well, while it's retrograde, I think sometimes we don't have all the information
Hmm.
in that process. We're still gathering, and
Hmm.
we're also gathering and redirecting and taking another look at what happened since the last retrograde cycle.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it's really, I don't think we're out of the woods. I think we still have a lot of potential for uh, you know, energetic outbursts or things that we may not have all the information. We may not have gathered enough for all of the
Yeah.
information because there's this sort of blast of blasting into the stratosphere kind of thing that we've got going on here with this conjunction. And over the course of weeks after it occurs, and then we have Mercury fully out of the woods. Yeah, I think that things will simmer down. You have to look at it like uncorked champagne.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. That's a good, yeah, that's a
you,
good
you,
reference.
you, you haven't tasted it yet. You've seen what it may look like, but you have to really get a taste of it to know what you're actually dealing with. So we'll have all the pieces there to make better decisions.
So for right now, the potential for humiliation is still sky high.
Be careful. This is in
Mhm.
Aries too. Mercury's in Aries. We don't think. We just
Oh,
do. We just
yeah,
react. And
we just,
we can have immaturity. Definitely leading our decisions with that going on there. So we do have to be careful.
mhm. There's no, God, yeah, in Aries as well. Jesus, I don't know. I feel like my nervous system is like this, bubbling like this all the time. I'm not used to this kind of energy at all.
Yeah, look at where it is aspecting in your chart, everybody. What is around 19, 20 degrees in your chart? Because that's where this sort of this nervous tension of anything can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, always on the edge of something, anything, the unknown.
Mm, yeah.
It's all a Jewel, there is I don't know if you can see the questions, but somebody from the monthly membership has asked something
Mm,
um
sure.
about it. Do you, huh?
Let me take a look. Oh, here we go. Anne, this conjunction to my ascendant and sun in the first house, discovered that I am an ENFP, how I see myself. So it brought enlightenment
Mhm.
about a lot the persona, the self, how we see reality. The ascendant is our window to the world. It's our main frame, the that we will interpret reality through. So the sign on the ascendant. So that's the very first layer of personality. The ascendant is the armor that we put on every day, and we go about town. We're like, "This is me," and it is, in a sense that that's what we show in the majority of situations in order, to protect what's really going on with ourselves, and it keeps the peace. And this is, part of what we've all agreed to, keep social order. We're not going to all go around telling what's really truly going on with us in all situations and conditions because it just creates
Mhm.
chaos. And we reserve those more tender, inner things, the the intimate things or feelings, more for appropriate situations and conditions of people. So the ascendant is the armor that is really there. So we associate it with Mars and war, and more. It's more outward facing. It is not introspective
Yeah.
worries.
Mhm.
So that's what the ascendant means for all of us. Uh, and having the sun in the first house with the ascendant, and this must be in Taurus.
Yes.
Uh, so there was a lot of self uh, awareness that has come up. Because discovering our Myers Briggs type, or sometimes an Enneagram type, or our astrology chart, or discovering ourselves through different, um, looking at the big five, or different methods of categorization, or just through the lens of astrology, or psychology, or different ways, it can bring a lot of insight into how we tick, no matter what the method is that we're looking at. There's a lot of different methods that are going to give us that result. So Myers-Briggs can be huge when it comes to teaching us how we process information, how we take things in, and what functions, cognitive and emotional functions we prioritize in order to tell ourselves what reality is. It can help us to. Signs usually do correspond to our Myers-Briggs type, so that's also something that's a lot of fun to look at.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, we'll have a lesson on that in our apprentice class here eventually.
That's really interesting. So I guess then, having that conjunction on her ascendant and her sun, that it's might be showing a lot about how she shows up. She's getting more insight about how, she's seen, or how she sees herself, or how she's being perceived, and how she perceives herself, right? Because I guess, like you said, the ascendant isn't the most introspective, but with that conjunction there, maybe.
Well, yes, and it's also involving the sun. It's involving a confidence.
Hmm.
That is there too. Typically, we don't associate a, a lot with just the ascendant itself, but certain planets.
Hmm.
And Jupiter brings often
Yeah.
some waking. Uranus brings.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So which I mean, that sounds very positive to me, that conjunction happening for her there.
yeah. Definitely want to control the impulse to assert yourself or take risks. If we already have ascendant that has some risky ideas, it can
Mm.
be something that can definitely put us in a position where we may not be making the healthiest choices in the moment, but it seems right at the time. So don't
Yeah.
go to Vegas or jump out of any airplanes with this going on. There could be other things. Yeah.
Well, I guess because it's in the sign of Taurus, right? So it might be a very indulgent time. Oh, oh,
Ah, are we back?
there. Oh,
I'm gonna go closer up here to the modem because there we go. Let me find some shade here and then I can read the questions.
okay.
Um, so I think we have one more question
Yeah,
here.
it's just come through.
Let's see. How to claim and not be afraid of your charm and sexiness with natal Sun conjunct ascendant and Mars and Venus trine Pluto and Venus in Aries.
Hmm.
So, how to be proud of what we've been given, how to be comfortable.
Um, Usually with those aspects, you're not really going to have a problem. I mean, Sun conjunct ascendant or Venus in Aries.
Well, it's claim and not be afraid of charm and sexiness. So that would imply there's some self-awareness there of
Mm,
the feedback that one gives or wants to receive.
mhm.
So I think we just well, I how to answer that? Not be afraid of it. I don't know. Be loud and proud and
Yeah,
accept the consequences.
yeah. I wouldn't I think that's really the only way to answer that question.
Well, Sun at the Ascendant is interesting. Um, if it doesn't have other aspects that confer a need or a penchant for getting attention, just Sun at the Ascendant, especially if it's an introverted sign or behind the Ascendant,
Mhm,
that can be something where we really don't understand why we do get a certain amount of attention because we have Sun and Ascendant together. But
mhm,
Sun in first house, Sun firmly in the first house, or conjunct to the ascendant, or just in the first house itself, and then with other planets in the first, or other personal planets in aspect to Pluto or Uranus, or sometimes Neptune too. We will be much more aware, and sometimes, well, oftentimes, much more consciously looking for feedback or attention. So it can be different, the sun conjunct the ascendant or behind into the 12,
yeah,
or sun in the first in a water sign.
uh,
We can have a bit different expression of, say, the sun in the first house in an air sign, or
fire sign.
a- especially a fire sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Much more looking consciously for affirmation or attention. Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's a good point. Because they didn't mention what the signs are,
Mhm.
um, there with that sun on the ascendant. So, maybe if we knew that, the question would well, we would have more context to answer the
Mhm.
question.
Mhm. Let's see. And Sun and Mars in the first in Taurus, conjunct the ascendant. That's a lot of physical um, uh, health and strength and vitality.
Oh my god, yes. Wow. Wow,
So
wow. I
we're
would
going to be able to stick with things with that one.
yeah. That sounds pretty damn nice.
So naturally, we have more confidence and self assertiveness with Sun and or Mars in the first house. And if it is conjunct to the ascendant, then it is more of a proactive, um, how do I say, a persona. So I have a lot of masculinity and drive in how we are initially presenting ourselves to the world. So we are typically perceived as, very strong personalities, have more leadership qualities or alpha qualities, whether you're a male or a female, with either Mars or
Oops.
there we go. So I have a stronger drive, stronger libido, stronger life force. Libido and life force, creative force, they're all the same thing.
Yes.
So uh, that coming into the first house is just a lot of physical strength and assertion of self and the need to have feedback is going to be very strong. Conjunctions also aren't, they do not confer a lot of self awareness. We may not know how
Mhm.
strongly we assert ourselves or how strong our selfish qualities are with that coming into the first house. So there might be a little bit of self discovery to be had. I have a Mars in the first house. I know nothing. I know nothing about him. Embarrassing myself with the with my own force. Yeah, yeah. So it's self-reflection with Mars in the first house is very important. Hmm. Or Sun in the first house as well. Uh, because it helps us to establish empathy.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Oops.
Sorry. So we can really struggle with seeing another's point of view with certain planets in the first house. That's what we need to really be willing to do in order to have real true empathy to put ourselves in the position of another person, really see things outside of our own ego.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those placements are quite assertive, aren't they? There's like a kind of, I don't know, almost an urgency to act or react, you know?
Right. Yeah, yeah, to do. That's that masculine energy within
Yeah.
that first house.
Yeah.
Reflection is Libra, that's seventh house, where we are much more, likely to question ourselves, sometimes ad nauseum. But the first house is very straightforward,
Mhm.
uh, and it's very simple. But um, it also can put us in a position where we are not cooperative because we're not able to see what's behind us.
Right.
Venus
Right.
follows,
It's
Mars
tough.
leads. Sometimes we'll have to look behind us to say, "Hey, what's going on back there? Things okay?" We have to check in.
I think with those placements you forget there's a behind, you know, if there's anything at the back, it's all forward facing.
Yeah, such is the nature of the persona, uh,
Mm.
Mars and the first house. So we just have to be self-aware. We have to be. self-aware. We're not naturally self-aware
uh,
when we have planets like that in the first house. It doesn't come natural to us.
yeah,
As
yeah,
embarrassing as that is, it's something that we have to realize that, oh, in this area of life, and when it comes to this function, whatever planet is there, this is where I may have a massive blind spot.
yeah. Yeah, 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 for sure. There are still worse things. There are far worse things to have in a chart. I wouldn't mind some of that. Some first house, some aggressive first house placements. That might be nice every now and then.
No, they all have their poison and their prettiness, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
true. And just like this person said here, your moon in Libra makes a perfect mix. Good point. True, true.
Well, balance is everything, isn't it? That's what that all the axes are showing us. That when we come to the middle and we achieve balance, that's where equilibrium is at. That's
Yeah,
where we have cooperation between all the areas of life and the relationships and all the different things that they represent. When we get out of whack, that's when problems start to develop.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, for I think for the most part, anyway, a lot of people's charts seem to find some kind of balance in there, you know.
Yeah, especially if we have significant oppositions. Um, that's where we can have transits or progressions, events like this that can bring events, insight, growth that can help us to find our way out of aspects in our chart that may put us in a position where we're continually seeking balance. We're
Mm.
continually trying to find that equilibrium because we're either at war with ourselves in some way on the inside and find that showing up in our environment, or we're neglecting ourselves somehow and having that show up in our environment. So
Yeah.
there's myriad ways that we can be out of balance or out of whack. And when we have significant conjunctions like this one that we're talking about with Jupiter and Uranus, if that is an aspect of something in your chart where you do need some amount of insight, it is
Yes.
something that can absolutely blow our cover in
Yeah.
terms of the stories that we like to tell ourselves
Yeah.
about who and what we are. And we can just have a radical turnaround when it comes to information that changes our mind.
Mhm. Yeah, that's such a good point. That's why I just think no matter what it's doing for you in the moment, when you look back, you will see it as like a huge turning point, even if it's very difficult to deal with right now. But yeah, it's going to bring a lot of insight, that that's never going to be negative looking back at least. Maybe in the moment it would be, but
In the moment, it can be, yeah, because it can bring breakthroughs that is our tower moment, our
yeah.
tarot tower moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Imagine, yeah, definitely, especially if it's something we're doing ourselves and we're not aware of, with something.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable when
Yeah,
the
tell
cards
me.
fall. And we have to let them, so things can be rebuilt in a way that makes more sense.
Yeah, totally. Oops.
Okay. All right, so why don't we wrap up for now? And oh, hold on, I have one more. Oh, lolly, hold on, one more comment here. Transit Uranus Jupiter conjunction at the cusp of the fourth house is square the ascendant. Any insight? Oh God, lolly, lolly. That's a lot of changes when it comes to the home life, our
Yeah.
intimate life, what we can depend on in terms of what's regular, the patterns that we repeat. That's um, massive changes when it comes to the tap root. That's what the fourth house cusp is, the tap root
Yeah.
that we put on. If you pulled up a dandelion, there's that really long root, looks like a carrot that goes into the ground. That's the fourth house. It's a tap root. And it's what everything hinges on in terms of stability. So anything can happen when it comes to that. And it is something that will upset our idea of normalcy. But if your idea of normalcy hasn't brought you what you've always been looking for in terms of comfort, safety, security, intimate relationships, this could be the
Ex-
best thing that ever happened to you. Because
Exactly.
maybe your idea of normal isn't actually fulfilling your conscious ideas of what you really want.
Exactly.
So, good luck with that, Lolly.
Yeah.
But you know where to find me.
Yeah, it will be good in the end. It will be good in the end. Just try to remember.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. If this conjunction happens in the 12th house, is that no, things that happen in the 12th house are not bad. They do reveal secrets that we necessarily keep hidden from ourselves, usually out of guilt or shame, or so that we can further our own stories of weakness. It's a lot, but this is something that will
What just happened? Will it be significant? Yes.
especially if Jupiter's going through the 12th house, that can actually be good in terms of protecting us from the worst aspects of ourselves and how we undermine ourselves. So there's just going to be some revelations
Mhm.
about how you're probably working against yourself and you don't realize it. So of course we don't want to know those things, but we need to know because it can help us to keep us ourselves safe from ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, I agree with that. Also, I have that natally. It's not bad. It's all right.
Yeah, Jupiter in the 12th, that's originally his home. You know, I
Yeah.
used to be Pisces back in the day. So
Mhm.
all right, so let's wrap up for now. Tosca and I will be back together again in the future, and I will pop over into my membership group over on YouTube today and answer all questions about quintiles and just hook up with you guys personally. And until then, thank you, Tosca,
Thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us.
Well,
And
thank you. Take care.
uh, we'll see you again next week, maybe. Does that work for you?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Thank you guys. Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.